What is a podcast advertising agency, and should you be using one? In this video, we're going to talk about exactly what agencies do, their function, how they can work with brands and advertisers to reach their ideal listeners with podcast advertising, and break down some pros and cons of utilizing them. At a high level, what is a podcast ads agency? It is an agency that runs podcast ads on your behalf. There's a couple of reasons why they exist or why they're beneficial for brands and companies that want to advertise on podcasts. The first one being they handle all the heavy lifting. They have all the industry knowledge. They know what the rates are. They know what's reasonable. They know how to execute these campaigns, measure their effectiveness, and optimize them as you go. And so if you want to just hire out that expertise, have them come in and run your campaigns for you, that is a huge benefit. The second thing that makes them really valuable is they have existing relationships with podcasters and with creators. And so if you know the type of person you want to reach, you know what kind of listener that you want to reach, you know what types of podcasts you want to be on, a podcast ads agency that represents those podcasts can be a great partner for you because you don't have to do all the elbow grease and the heavy lifting of creating your own network of podcasters you're reaching. You can just use the podcast ads agency to do all of that for you. And then the other primary benefit or the main benefit of a podcast ads agency is that they will allow you to reach podcasters that aren't available for direct relationships or are harder to reach. And so if you really want to get on a specific podcast and you can find out who represents them in their ad sales, you can reach out to them. They're typically much more responsive. We'll give you the rates, we'll give you the packages, and then you work directly with the ads agency rather than trying to connect to the podcaster as the decision maker. You can just work with the ad agency instead. Now, what does it cost to hire a podcast ads agency? There's typically one of two ways that you can pay or hire a podcast ads agency. One is retainer base and one is a percentage of spend base. This is similar to other ads agencies, whether it's Google ads or YouTube ads or things like that, where if you're working on a retainer base, there's a specific number of campaigns that they're going to run on your behalf. There's a flat rate to manage that work and that overhead, and then your ad spend is on top of that. The second way that you can hire an ads agency, or the second way that they make money, is as a percentage of the spend. So let's say they're representing a podcaster, and that podcaster charges $40 per 1,000 impressions, or $40 CPM. The ads agency may take $10 of that 40 and pass on 30 to the podcaster. So the podcaster makes $30, the ads agency makes $10, and then you, the advertiser, pay the full 40. The podcaster likes it because they don't have to do the work of finding the sponsors and the brands to work with them in their show. They hire the ads agency to do that. You aren't necessarily paying more for that placement because the podcaster is only working through that ads agency typically, or they have their own internal sales team. And so you're paying the flat rate regardless, and the ads agency is taking the cut out of the middle. Now, what you want to make sure that you pay attention to when you're looking for an ads agency to work with is, number one, do they have in their roster or at their disposal the podcasters with the audiences that you want to target? Not every ads agency can cover every single vertical. There are some that specialize just in business podcasts. There are some that specialize just in tech podcasts, just in true crime podcasts, etc. And so if there's a very specific category that you want to target, you want to find an ads agency that represents those podcasters. The second thing you want to look for is previous success. Have other brands, have other companies worked with you to advertise on these podcasts in similar industries, and what were their results like? Were they trying to grow their own content? Were they driving website traffic back to a landing page? How were they measuring success? Is that similar to how we want to measure success? And what does that long-term relationship look like? Essentially, just make sure that the podcasters they represent and the goals that you have are aligned, so that way when you execute a podcast strategy with an ads agency, it's going to be effective for you. Now, if you want to learn even more about the world of podcast ads agencies, more details, more tips, more strategies, you can read our full blog post at audienselift.com/blog. We'll also leave a link to that in the video description for your convenience, so you can go over and check that out next.